Former USA Gymnastics President Steve Penny says he didn't know he'd been charged in connection with Larry Nassar's sexual abuse case. Well, Penny was arrested on Wednesday in Tennessee after a Texas grand jury indicted him on charges that he ordered documents to be removed from the Karolyi Ranch. Now, that's the training center where Nassar, a former team doctor, abused some of the athletes. Penny's lawyer told CBS News he is confident that he did nothing criminal. USA Gymnastics says it is fully cooperating with the investigation and, quote, will continue to do so to help the survivors and our community heal from this tragedy. Jessica Howard is a former Team USA gymnast and board member who says she was abused by Nassar. Good morning, Jessica, and thank you so much for joining us. Okay. So you worked with Steve Penny of USA Gymnastics. You were on the board with him for 4 years. Did you see any of this type of behavior?
Steve was a very intimidating figure. He was tall, he was a big guy, a little gruff, and you didn't want to cross him, ever. If anybody brought up anything that would, disagree with him, he would shut it down very quickly. And he was also personally, like in the hallway, once he kind of got a little close to me and like towering over me, made me feel very small, and said, why do we even have your sport? It doesn't bring in any money.
And he was president of the board?
He's president of USA Gymnastics, yeah, and that was directly to my face. So, he was just that kind of guy. And
Penny's lawyer, Jessica, says he's confident that he did nothing wrong. Are you confident about that,
Absolutely not. Because? He has been orchestrating this from the very beginning. He has been worried. As soon as I joined the board, I found out from my first meeting that all they were interested in is money and medals. It was not about the athletes. It was about the athletes performing well, getting gold medals in Olympic and World Championships. That was their ultimate goal, and that brought in sponsors, that brought in money, and that raised their paychecks, and that's really what mattered to them. And it left somebody like me, who was still in athlete mode, and I was trying to please them and do whatever I could to be the best athlete I could, and improve my reputation and be respected among them. And I didn't ask any questions, and they did not share any hint of scandal with us, with the board.
You were also a victim of Larry Nassar,
yes.
And I want to get your reaction to the allegation that Steve knew about this and waited 5 weeks before first reporting it to the FBI, and allegedly 50 other girls had been abused by Larry Nassar during that time period. What's your reaction to that?
When I woke up to the news, I felt a couple of things almost exactly at the same time. I felt relieved, that it happened, but then this other feeling washed over me, and I was just like, it's about time. Like, come on, this guy's been guilty as sin from the very beginning. He's known about this since 2015. He has tried to silence everyone who was involved at the very beginning. He has, since 2016, when the stories started becoming public, he has tried to cover it up. He's paid people off. He gave Larry Nassar a story that allowed him to continue working with young athletes at other gyms who he clearly did not care about. And one of them was as young as 8 years old, but there were 50 to 60 victims. I mean, the numbers change. I don't know which the correct one is, but young victims, children that could have been saved from sexual abuse. He's been guilty as sin from the beginning. Yes. And you can't underestimate, the pain that he has caused just by his lies.
You talked also about the culture at USA Gymnastics, that he was part of it, as you've said. What should happen to USA Gymnastics now?
I think from the start of this, and I'm giving them a lot of leeway by just saying from the start of this situation, because I think it goes far, 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 far back. Mm-hmm. But from the start of this situation, they have shown over and over and over and over again that they are incapable of dealing with this situation. They cannot make decisions that change policies that protect athletes. They are not athlete-centric. They are medal and money-centric. And they build machines. They allow emotional and physical abuse that makes athletes perfect victims, female athletes perfect victims for sexual predators, and they are continually open to sexual abuse. And since then, even since Steve left, there have been multiple examples. I can't even list them all. With Carrie Perry there in front of Congress, she couldn't even explain the sexual abuse policy when a predator had been called into USA Gymnastics, and somehow those predators stayed in the gym.
And the leadership is still in limbo now.
And the
US
leadership is still in limbo. And then they hired Tracy. Mary Lee Tracy, and she was a supporter of Nassar, and then that didn't happen. And then they just, over the weekend, hired Mary Bono, who was part of the team that tried to cover up the story for Nassar. I mean, it's just like, the complete oblivious detachment that these people seem to have, I can't support. And I think they've done it themselves. Nobody else has been making them make these mistakes.
Well, thank you for speaking out about it.
And I think decertification is the only step.
Well, if there's any way to rebuild USA Gymnastics, it's voices like yours. So
and I think if they work with the victims, if they work with the right people, they work with the right experts, we have a shot at rebuilding something strong so our athletes can be safe in the future.
Thank you for your bravery and for expressing your outrage.
Thank you for listening,
So
and
many
thank
feel.
you guys. Thank you.
Jessica, thank you.
Jessica.